going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and these are the baits that I'll be using in the month of October. All right, so first of all, like I said in my September bait video, that a lot of guys are doing these monthly bait videos. I love them. I've been doing them since just about the beginning. I think Edwin Evers started the first one, and then I kicked in about a month or two later, and now everybody's doing them. But what I want to do different, you guys know me that have been following me for a long time. I really get into the teaching side. So I'm going to introduce, in this video, I'm going to introduce the baits for the month of October, the baits that I feel like I'm going to be using the most, and I feel like will give people the most opportunity to catch maybe even a fish of a lifetime, but catch a lot of fish in October. And then subsequent videos after that are going to be individual videos about each individual bait. So hit that notification bell so you get the alerts that I launch those videos. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. What happens in the fall? Why am I choosing these baits for this particular time of the year? Well, what happens is the bass move shallow because they're following the bait fish. The bait fish are moving into the mouths of creeks and large pockets every morning. Every morning I got to listen to that. But they move into the mouths of the major creeks and pockets, and as October moves along, they start to move back further and further, but they're shallow. They're working the banks, and by November, they're all the way in the backs of the major creeks, and they're feeding heavily on shad. That's just where the shad go, so they're following the bait. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing, is start in the mouths of the creeks and work your way back and throw these style or these types of baits, and you're going to get bit. All right, so let's talk about the first one. The first one is one that I promised from last month, from September's bait video, and I didn't cover it in a detailed video because October is when it really shines, and into November at least. But a squarebill, a small squarebill. This is a 1.5 Strike King, and it is that size is my go-to size. I love the small ones that time of the year. The bait fish are small, and that has to do with their spawning cycle and that kind of stuff. At that point in time in October, November, the bait fish are really small, so you really want to kind of match the size, or just go really big and see what happens. But I almost always match the size. There's several different brands that I use. I use Strike King. 13 Fishing's got a scamp that is really nice because it's got a carbon fiber bill, so you can drag it through stuff and beat it up against rocks, and it's pretty indestructible. I mean, I can grind the bill off if I work hard enough. It also floats really high, so when you're burning it and you hit something and you kill it, it'll come up really fast into a bass's face that's following it and that kind of stuff. The rod that I'm going to use for a squarebill is going to be a short, medium, moderate rod. Now, in most rod lines, no matter what the brand is, they've usually got three main cranking rods: a long one, a medium length one, and a short one. The shortest one is your medium moderate rod, 99 times out of 100. And I like a 6'10" medium moderate. This is the 13 Fishing Envy. The Omens are really good. The Envies are their higher priced ones, but their Omens are really good. They've really come a long way since I joined 13 5 or 6 years ago with the cranking rods. But for a squarebill, I'm going to throw a 3-to-1 gear ratio reel, or this is a 7.5-to-1, and I'm going to crank them really hard and really fast. 15-pound fluorocarbon. This is Seaguar Braze X. I drag it through stuff. I bang it through brush piles and all kinds of stuff, and so your line really takes a beating. It's best to have really good quality fluorocarbon that is pretty abrasion resistant, just because of what you work it through. You're going to retie a lot anyway. You just want to be able to retie a lot less. So number 2 is probably my favorite one to throw in the fall. They're all my favorite. What am I talking about? I'm lying to you. If I can get this horny toad threaded on, would be a Buzzbait. This is a greenfish tackle toad toter. I think it's called a toad toter. But anyway, it's not ready to go. You can hear how quiet that blade is. Anyway, we'll talk about that when I get into the video about how to modify them and things like that. But a Buzzbait is so much fun. I mean, it runs super shallow. It goes through it goes through cover fairly well, but it gets giant fish to bite, and And so you really want to put it on. Well, let's talk about the Buzzbait first. You want one with the largest blade you can get. This one, it's got anodized aluminum blade, and it was black on one side, or black on both sides. But one of my tricks is I put it in the window of my truck for a couple of months and get that black to fade out, so it's kind of it flashes different. It's just something different they haven't seen before. That's one of my tricks. But anyway, I love them with horny toads. I love them with any kind of a soft plastic, a grub and stuff like that. But I'm gotten away from the Buzzbaits that have the skirts. So when you're buying these things, get the ones that are for toads. These skip a whole lot better. They've just been really, really good. And I totally recommend the Greenfish Tackle ones. Not sponsored by them, but that's what I use. The rod that I'm going to use it on is going to be a medium heavy fast rod with braided line or heavy fluorocarbon. I'm one of those that uses either or. I just make sure it's good heavy line. And like I said, it's going to be a 7'3" medium heavy fast action rod, and I'm going to use a 7.5 to 1 reel. I think this is at 7.5 for the Squarebill, but same reel as this one. And I'm just gonna throw it out and get it working along the bank and figure out what speed the bass wants and so on and so forth. But that is a really good bait. And if you find that the horny toads aren't working very good, switch to a Zoom Fat Albert grub or some type of a big grub, and you'll see yourself get a little bit more bites. And that typically has to do with the size of the bait fish that time of the year. All right, so the next one is going to be a swim jig. And I love swim jigs because they come through everything really, really well. And in the video that I'm going to do I'm going to talk a lot about the two different styles or main styles of swim jig fishing. So stay tuned for that. But I love these stinking things. They like I said, they come through cover really well. They come through grass and wood, and you can not be scared to throw them up into things and let them fall down into cover. And it's the all-terrain vehicle of jigs, and it's my all-terrain vehicle of tackle, period. And they're just so easy to use. In the video we'll talk about trailers, we'll talk about line and everything else, but my main ones are pretty simple. And now I choose two different colors, bluegill colors and shad colors. So white chartreuse, white, and then green pumpkin with some orange and stuff like that for bluegill. But I throw the 6 cents, the Picasso, which is really good in grass, and my tried and true old faithful, the Greenfish Tackle swim jig, just a small compact jig when the bait get really small. Actually, they all are pretty good, but that Greenfish one really does work real good when the bait's small, and I think that they're only keying in on that small bait. But those are three good ones. I'll leave the link down in the description of all of these baits, so you guys can go to Tackle Warehouse. It is my affiliate link. I'm going to be up front with you. I get a little bit of a kickback from them when you guys purchase from them using my affiliate link, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, it's not a discount code. Sorry, but anyway. I'll put a link down there to all of these baits and all the rods and reels that I talk about. Now, the rod and the reel and the line with a swim jig, I'm going to throw a medium heavy fast action rod, usually a really long one, a 7'6" or 7'3" to 7'6". And then for the line, I throw braid most of the time. Now we're going to talk about a technique where it's light line and different tackle in the video, but mainly I'm going to be throwing, especially in Guntersville and along the Tennessee River, I'm throwing heavy braid on a medium moderate action rod and a high-speed reel, an 8 3-to-1 gear ratio reel. The next one is the one bait that I could put into every single month of the year for me, except for the dead of the winter. But I've chosen to do it here in October, and I'll probably do it a couple of times next year and everything else, and that's a Texas rig. Okay, so a Texas rig, this one specifically is rigged up to flip into cover, into shallow cover. 3/8 ounce tungsten lead, or tungsten weight. I'm such a knucklehead. A 3/8 ounce tungsten weight. I almost said tungsten jig, but anyway. A nice flipping hook. This is a Gamakatsu G-Finesse. I'll leave the link down in the description. I think it's their light wire. But the baits in particular, all summer long I've been throwing a Texas rig, but I've been dragging giant worms, 10, 11, 12, 13-inch worms, and catching fish. Well, this is when I transition back to a smaller, more compact bait, a beaver style bait like a rage bug, and I will use that instead of a large worm. It just, all the kicking and everything else it does, any beaver style bait. A fighting frog comes to mind from I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, that comes to mind. But the biggest thing is I play around with the weights. I go from 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce to 1/2 ounce, depending on how fast I want it to fall. I play around with the different baits. I want some that have some that have good action, some that have a lot of action, some that have a little bit of action, and I'll just play around with them. But I almost always peg it. Okay, you see that peg stop right there? I almost always peg mine, just because it keeps the sinker from wrapping around cover as you're flipping it. Now, I'm not saying do this all the time. I'm saying have one ready. So when you get into an area that's just loaded with fish, and you'll find those areas if you're covered in enough water, then you can pick them apart with a Texas rig and flip into bushes or along sticks. I remember on Leech Lake in Minnesota several years ago, we got into them, and they were in the grass, and on Leech Lake it's like rice grass, so it's just stems going down into the water. It's not matted or anything else, but we found them on the points of these grass, and the best way to catch them was to flip a Texas rig, a creature bait in there, and I had a green pumpkin dipped with some methylate JJ's Magic, the tips of the claws, because it made it look like the orange claws on a crawfish. And I mean, there was a period of time where we caught 4 off the same grass stem, one little grass stem sticking out a little bit further. But if we threw by them with a Squarebill or a spinnerbait or something like that, they'd hit it, but we'd only catch one. But if we flipped in there with a Texas rig, we could catch every single fish that was in that one little bitty spot. And we found that all along this grass bed. It was really, really cool. So always have a Texas rig tied on, or something like a flipping jig or something you can flip into cover, and you'll be fine. I throw my Texas rigs almost entirely on a 7'3" medium heavy, or 7'3" medium heavy, or 7'4" heavy, depending on the cover or depending on the size fish that I expect to catch in that lake. 17 to 20 pound test fluorocarbon. This is Seaguar Brazex. This is a Concept C2 reel, but a high speed reel, 8.3 to 1 is really, really good. But that 8 speed reel is what I would be throwing. This is actually a Fate Black. This is an $80 rod, and it's a 7'3". This one in particular is a 7'4" heavy. But I mean, I love these rods. But that's a Texas rig. That's the one thing that I'm just going to have tied on for that specific situation when I get into a big school of fish and I just want to pick it clean. All right, last but not least is a bait that I typically use a lot in the springtime, but this time of the year when they get into that sparse grass, and you know, in the scattered like milfoil and things like that, especially up north, you can't beat a small lipless crankbait. And I'm talking like the 1/4 inch size. This is a 1/2 ounce from 13 Fishing, but it's the small. This is the Magic Man, but really tiny ones. I don't have. Yeah, I do. I got a regular size one right here. So here's a regular size one. Okay. And here's the small one. So a smaller 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce, but just make sure it's a smaller body style, is critical for that. These things come through grass really, really well. If you find that you are getting hung up quite a bit while you're fishing it, we'll talk about this in the main video about them, but upsize the front hook and remove the back hook is what you want to do. So to go up one size in that treble hook and take this one off entirely, and you'll get snagged up a lot less. It'll come through grass a whole lot better, and you'll still catch the fish because you've upsized that front hook. But the colors I use are crawfish colors, shad colors, and bluegill colors is what I'm looking for. I'm going to throw it on a medium heavy moderate rod because I'm going to fish it pretty aggressive. So my chatterbait rod, a 7'4" medium heavy moderate. I don't have one in the boat because I didn't plan on doing that video today. But a 7'4" medium heavy moderate, 15 to 17 pound test fluorocarbon, because again, I'm fishing it really, really aggressive, ripping it through the grass. And then a high speed reel, actually, yeah, 7 to 8 speed reel is what I'm looking for. But that's the basics. Those are the baits I'm going to be using in October, along with a whole lot more, I'm sure, but those are the ones I wanted to suggest and talk to you about in this video. Like I said, stay tuned for the individual instructional videos that I'm going to be showing after this. I'm going to try to launch them every other day after I launch this video. We'll see how much work I get done. But I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notifications button so you get notifications for those videos. But like I would say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water. Go out and catch some fish and have a great day. We'll see you.